Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Live. We're trying another photo merging experiment here. The lower section here is a scene that I stamped out using the flower fields, the windmill, and this little I don't know, group of trees or foliage down here. I've pre-cut this out, okay? Just with some scissors and an X-Acto knife for this little section right in here. And then what I've done is I've mounted the photograph on a piece of cardstock. And then I've mounted this. I used spray adhesive on the back of these two areas. And then what I did was I took this. This is all one piece, and I've placed it right on top of this. So the photo ends like right around right here. So this has been placed right over the top, thus the photo merge, whatever term. Okay, so let's get into coloring this right here. I'm going to start off with some colored pencils, then I'll follow up with my alcohol pens, and then we'll move into some acrylic paint pens here, and we'll see how far we can get with just with each component here, each medium. Hello, Pamela. How are you? Thanks for jumping on and checking out the experiment here. We'll see what we can come up with. I'm usually not someone that does these cutouts like this, but I don't know. I thought, why not? The first experiment from yesterday, I thought came out pretty cool with this cloud photo up top here and this lower section stamped out, colored, and then merged with the photo. So I thought, I think that looks pretty good. And then, I thought it has, I don't know, potential for an optional technique for people to use, especially if this lower portion is relatively, easy to cut out. The blades on this windmill, I mean, it wasn't, they're largely just straight cuts. So it wasn't too much of a cutting kind of assignment. It took me probably, I don't know, 3 minutes at most, I would say. And the wave was, I don't know, the wave was about the same. So I recently purchased some photo prints. I used to have them run at Costco, when they had their on-site photo labs or whatever departments in each one of their warehouses. And I'm guessing it was not only them, but everyone with printing technology like that. They were all printing on photo paper. And I was able to stamp on top of the photo paper with no problem. But this type of paper and whatever types of inks they're using, it's different. They're almost like waterproof, or they are waterproof. So, I can't stamp on them. So if you're doing these on a home inkjet printer, you should just be able to stamp right on top of the photograph, which would make this whole area down here like a snap just to cut out. It's just a straight line basically. So I don't know, but these prints right here, I'm printing out now. I mean, I'm just I'm not printing out on. I'm just using as backgrounds, I think. Unless I have some kind of image that can easily stamp on there with some stays-on ink. But some stays-on inks even on here, they don't stamp out real clear because it's so non-porous. Okay, I don't know what the stamps that stamp out real good are kind of more airy types, but if you're going with a kind of a more silhouette, it's a little tricky on this, just like they are on um, the foils, the mirrored foils. More cut and paste. Yep. Well, I don't know. I mean, Linda, it's like I avoided this type of thing, but I don't know. When the cutting takes like 2 minutes, I mean, how long do you take on your scenes? Me too, you know. I probably spend more time kind of highlighting like a row of trees or something like that than it took me to cut out this entire thing right here. So it makes for a pretty easy process. I'm not going to cut out like a pine tree or something like that with a tons of in and outs though. But kind of just straight geometric cuts, I don't know. It's not really any big deal. Um, you know, so why did it take me, 30 years to try it? Okay, so lay down some of these greens in here. The greens are looking pretty decent, just without any, you know, um, alcohol inks or paint pens so far. Let's see what we can do in these rows here. I'm going to do these rows, maybe some different colors, or maybe a couple of them will be the same colors, and then we'll go, um, with something different. You can make it all kind of make it all uniform too, and that would be good too. But let's try it in a couple different tones and see what this looks like. Okay, now as I'm doing this, one of the things I have on my computer screen, just to reference, I brought up, I think I typed into a search engine, Flower Fields Sunset, the Netherlands, or you can put Holland or something like that. And, with your search engine, just click onto images, and then you'll see a bunch of images, photographs that you can reference and see how those flower fields look. So some of them, I don't know, a lot of them are tulips, of course, but they have a lot of other types of flowers than tulips. But I think one of the tulip ones looks like this little red, like that, within kind of an external body of yellow, as one of the examples of one of those types of flowers that you see a lot of photographs taken of. So a lot of little dots here. Yeah, it's not super important that you stay kind of within the lines or anything like that, and you don't need to do it like way up here, okay? All right, so that is that. That's like that right there, and then let's go with this will be yellow in here too. Okay, but right here, let's go with like a purple magenta-ish color scheme. Let me see if I have like a magenta color. I don't know if I have like a magenta colored pencil. I don't recall using one in the past. We'll go with this one here. And this one's just called purple here. Almost bedtime in Ohio. Let's see, we got 8:40, quarter till 9. Do you go to bed around 9, Pamela? Around 9 p.m. Or maybe later. That's when Linda and I start stamping. Usually. Sometimes I'll have like I've had like midnight or really late at night live streams. And I have to laugh because sometimes I'm wondering. I wonder if Linda's, going to jump on. I wonder if Linda's up. It feels like we're both in the same time zone though. Okay, so I'm hitting this one with a little bit of these purple little things in here. I'll go with like a pink around these little purple areas in here. Now the one thing that, okay, so right up here, here's the thing. These blades in here, of course, there was just no way to cut those out. Now, like I said, if I was able to stamp directly onto this photograph, if it was a home inkjet printer, you can stamp over those inks. I'm thinking, I've always done it in the past. Unless home inkjet printer inks have changed. I doubt it, though. But, so there's no color right in here. So I'm going to have to use some pencils. So that's the thing, like, see, like that color right there. Maybe that's like that color kind of right in there. So I'll use a little bit of this color kind of within those blades like that. Just to kind of get a little bit of kind of common hue in an area that's supposed to be open to that background area in there. Okay, so I'm gonna have to try to match it with my colored pencils as much as possible. Yeah, Linda. So I think you got some really good prints there. Um, I Again, I already forgot what place you had yours printed out, Linda, but I looked online. Was it Staples or something like that? I forgot where you said, but I looked on the website down here for printing, wherever you said, and I didn't see a link to have photos printed there. At least at my whatever domestic site. So I'm not really quite sure. I didn't investigate after that. I looked into it once. Okay, so here's some of these purples down here like that. And then let's see, let's go into maybe an orangish tone over here. That's already orange right there. Or that's red. And I'll put yellow around it. And we'll go orange and orange maybe, or something like that. I'm not gonna make them like too different. I'm not gonna go with like green flowers. You know what I mean? If those existed, but I'm not gonna do that. But let's try. Let's see. No, I haven't had a midnight stream in a while. Sometimes lately, I've been at those late night kind of. I've been recording some pretty late at night sometimes, but I haven't done them live. I've been doing the stuff that a lot of stuff, non-live stuff, when I need to kind of get up and at different parts in a certain process. Like with that experiment last night, with this one. I didn't have all this pre-cut out or anything like that and merged in here, so I was kind of figuring it out as I went along. So, yeah, a lot of that type of pausing the video and going and taking care of whatever I need to do with that, with the scenes that I'm working on. Okay, so here's some of that orange in here. So it's kind of scumbling. What it looks like is this type of thing. Okay. Just going with like something like that. And notice how some of these are a little bit larger, some of them are a little bit lighter. That's what you kind of do to vary the application and intensity a little bit, or a lot. Okay. Hello, Bonnie. How are you? Oh, okay. So you're just kind of chilling out sometimes, Pam, and then you just kind of fall asleep, when it comes to you, huh? One of the things I need to do is I do need to get more sleep, I think. Um, Here's some pink right here. Sleep and hydration. Okay, so there's some pink right there. I mean, these two fields right here are the ones that, kind of take a little bit of time because they're, just whiter like that. All right, now I think let's go back to that reddish one right over here, and I'll add in some reds on this one. It's starting to be a very narrow strip right in here, like that. And London Drugs. Did you say London Drugs, or was that a autocorrect? Was it Long's Drugs? We have Long's Drugs down here. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's what I looked at. Okay, so here's some red. I put a little bit more in this one. And then we went with yellow here. And let's go with, I'll go with more purple again. So purple, red, yellow, like that. So if you just joined in, what I'm going for is like different colors in each one of these. What do you call them? Like some beds or something like that, strips. Did I say hello to Bonnie? Hello, Bonnie. Doing good, hiding out from all the golfer at the Masters. Ah. The big tournament in San Diego is Torrey Pines. I'm not even sure. I'm not sure when that one happens. Okay, let's go with a little bit of yellow up here. Like that way, and I don't know, maybe I'll hit it over here like so. Maybe I'll hit a little bit of yellow in this green area, like that. And let's see here. Is that pink right there in the sky? I can't tell. Let me get a little bit of that pinkish tone in there. It doesn't look like pink, but I'm adding that pink right in there, and then let's layer it with a little bit of warmth, I think, like that. I'm not gonna get it like even like really well, but I'll do the best I can here. So, and I'll use some of the alcohol pens for some gray tone up there too. So we'll try to make it a little bit richer looking. So I'm doing this just on a piece of semi-gloss cardstock down here, but I was thinking you might be able to just like stamp other types of images down in some area. You can do it on top. You can stamp them on the pre-printed papers, things like that, to get just inherent tones and textures or something like that. And you might be able to merge it with a photograph up there. And then you just maybe do a little bit of shading in black and white with some of those types of photos, and you might be able to get a really like quick type of scene, with this type of kind of construction with the photographs. So yeah, it might be kind of interesting. as like an optional, yeah, like quick type of process. So I'll try that at some time in the future. I was going to do it today. I was thinking about like some wood grain paper or something like that, but I don't know. I started thinking about this flower field and how just a straight line it was. But then I thought, I don't want just this down here and then all sky. You know what I mean? We need a little bit of change. And I thought, okay, I wasn't thinking about doing that. The windmill on this, but I thought, it's not too big of a trimming assignment. Like I said, it took me, I think it took me like 2 or 3 minutes at most to cut that out. Okay, this is just some beige right here, so I'm going to run this across all of these rows right here, just to give them a little bit of a color continuity. I mean, it's so light, it's like really pale, like that. It'll just give it a little bit of warmth in there. I think that's already looking pretty good in terms of this. I don't know if you guys can, if that's picking up on your monitors or whatever, your screens. See this right here? So I gave that a little bit of temperature right in here. See, this is like white down here. I mean, this is like grayscale right up here with all that. But see this warmth coming from, the background right here. It doesn't have to be the same color as that, but that similar temperature on there, I think, helps it. And instead of just, white and black in that area, giving it like a neutral gray, now it's like a little bit of a temperature tone in those forms there. So sometimes you can just hit something with a really, really light color and it just creates like a stronger connection in there. Okay, so let's use some of it on these trees too. I usually call this kind of the base layer color, but I don't know, with colored pencils you can kind of just layer it right on top if you have some kind of open areas still, and it'll still kind of read in there, without any problem. Now we don't have to do the whole thing. I'm putting it over quite a bit though, I find, because the more I do, it's like, it's still looking pretty decent, and maybe it's looking a little bit better the more I put down here. And when you're going with like such a light color, you can just layer it down there, and it's never going to get really dark because it's a light color to begin with, so it's a pretty good color to kind of test out and see if you like it or not. Good night, Pamela. The world shows up here for the Masters. Oh, yeah. Well, that's like the, tournament, isn't it? How long? Yeah, let me see. We locals usually take a vacation the week before and during. Okay, I was going to ask you when or for how long does that whole whatever tournament with all the things surrounding it usually take? So it's like 2 weeks then, huh? Foam tape behind the window. No, this is not, there's no foam tape behind it. It's just, this is flat right here. So I just glued it down with spray adhesive right on top of the photograph. It looks like it's sticking out a little bit, doesn't it? It's just because it's like a completely different, paper from that background. One's glossy, one's semi-glossy, practically matte, and then it's not really making like a strong connection with that background. Only that it's in the same setting, but tonally it's like totally different, so it's really like sticking out. Which, might look good. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of bring the connection in a little bit more, though. But it wouldn't be bad to kind of like separate it too, and to make it, to like double down on that kind of difference in that three-dimensional kind of look, though. Okay, this is violet. So see some of these violet tones up here, right in here. It's like violet gray more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that into some of the shadow areas right in here too. So maybe on this side of the windmill, I'll use some of the cool tones, and then maybe this down here will be on this kind of slightly more illuminated area. And you can just kind of make a little bit more of a connection between the sky colors and the reflected light in this area. That's what it is in theory, at least. What it looks like in the end result, we really never know. And sometimes the strategies change, you know, it's like, okay, so here's some of that tone again, and see here's some of those colors down here. It's kind of not, you know, when I put this here, it's like, that doesn't really look like that at all. But if I put like a really light coat of it like that, it's kind of like that. So I'll put some of this down in this lower windmill blade. Hello, Cynthia, how are you? Okay, I think that looks okay. Let me bring some of this black up here too. And we'll try to tone slightly some of that area right in here. Try to follow a little bit of the pattern of the sky, you know, this sky colors like that. So it's, you know, it's kind of, the blades are kind of like setting back into the scene a little bit more. We'll give the trees in here a little bit of that, see that little shading like that. Just, you know, trying to create a little bit more of a, kind of an anchored look to the objects right in here. And this is like a twilight lighting scheme, so sometimes the shadows become a little bit longer, so you can kind of elongate the shadows down here. I'm not going to go too dark, you know, because I want those, you know, flower fields to be nice and bright, but, or light. Let's see, there's like right in here, you know, I'll go with a little bit more shading like that. Right at the base of these flowers, you can kind of go like this. I'm just doing it with like a, maybe at most like a 15% gray, using my black here. All right. Let's try some, let's bring in some yellow with my colored pencil into here before I hit it with my alcohol pen. The alcohol pen should be a lot brighter. So I'm thinking about trying to bring the surface up a little bit brighter too before I get to that point. Just because it'll be a, it won't be to my eye, it won't be as shocking of a kind of an intensity change if I add down, if I make the background a little bit warmer and more intense just with, you know, a little bit of the colored pencil. And right in here, what was the color I was going to use? Magenta-ish or something? I really need, let me see here. I have a couple more pale pinks right here. Let me go with a little bit more pale pink here before I, that's not that pale. Okay, that's a little bit more pale here. Let's use this one first in this bed here. All right, so that's like pink right in there. And let me see, was this one going to be a pink row here? If it wasn't, it is now. And then, okay, this one's going to be a little bit brighter. And this one here is pink too, but more pink violet. This one's going to be more pink magenta, I think. All right. Now let me see. Let me see if I don't have like a dull yellow. Let me see. Oh, this one says pale yellow. It looks like a dirty yellow, though. Let's give it a shot here. It's pale yellow, I think, but it's like a dry yellow. Let me see. No, no. I thought it was dry, but it's just like really pale. All right, perfect. So we'll add this down here first. Yeah, okay, that one's really good. That one's like a really pale yellow as far as like these markers go. Go like that. And try this one. Or did I can't remember which one I used. I don't think I used this one yet. So I'm doing this type of thing right here. Again, it's kind of scumbling. Okay, and then we'll see what we can do about getting increasingly brighter here. First time I've used this pen, I can tell. Let's be more conservative and use the narrow tip here. These are some really inexpensive, cheap pens here, so it had like that kind of that, I don't know, whatever it is. It's like a ink growth, ink warts. Alright, so here's some of that pink like that. I don't expect it to kind of go on like, or to blend like super well, but that's where my alcohol pens, acrylic paint pens come into play. All right, so we're working like this type of thing right here. So this is like light and dull. It's kind of light and a little bit darker, and this one's starting to move into brighter and darker too, okay? Yeah, so that's a little bit more like a hot yellow and a pink right there. Boy. Okay, apparently this is like the pen that I need to be using on those kind of like spring, like cherry blossom scenes. But that is really, really bright in there. I guess it kind of looks like it goes with this type of scenario here, though. Has anyone ever been around like these types of flower fields anywhere? I've mentioned this before, but I grew up in this city called Lompoc, California, and I didn't know anyone that was into agriculture or anything like that, their parents or anything like that. But one of the big features of the city was flower fields, it was known as the City of Flowers, or Valley of Flowers, I should say. And they grew them for flower seeds. So it was like I think they called it the flower seed capital. I don't know if it was like the world. It was definitely of the U.S. At the time, and that was like while I was growing up, 60s, 70s, maybe 80s too. I think other types of crops probably became more profitable, so less seeds, and I don't know, maybe. But there's still flower fields there though. Sometimes I'm wondering if it's like subsidized by the city, or if those farms are still growing it as their their product line. I'm not sure. Okay, this is a little bit of a brighter yellow here. That one's a little bit darker there though. Let's see here. So I have these colors right here. This one almost looks like neon though. I don't know if I'm gonna go like to that extreme. Hello Tracy, how are you? Tracy, we're doing some photo merging here. For that's like a terrible terrible name. It doesn't have a ring to it. Okay, so a little bit of a yellow here. Yeah, it's like a lot brighter. Okay, yeah, that's kind of that's areas kind of getting it's waking up now in terms of the intensity for sure. Go like that, and like that. Hey, we'll do one of those. We'll do another flip through sometime. I think I'm gonna grab. I was thinking about what I would grab. I'll grab an old rubber stamper magazine that had its own kind of thing. A rubber stamper magazine. I don't know. Did everyone have like subscriptions to that magazine back in the day? Okay, let's go with a little bit of a brighter yellow here and there. I'll kind of dot application in here though. Like that. And let's see. Let's do E. This row I wanted to make it a little bit different from this one. This one I was thinking about orange, but I don't know, do I go that? That's like too dark right there. Let me see right here. Okay, this is yellow ochre. I don't know, that looks almost like brown. I'll use a little of that. Oh, let's do this right here. Let me go back to my colored pencil right here. Okay, at this point in time, I can't use the colored pencil. I've gone too far with the alcohol inks, and the alcohol inks are sealing the paper off too much, and it's not really accepting the, the waxy colored pencil anymore. The waxy colored pencil media. Okay, this is the first time I've used a lot of these pens here. Okay, that's like way too orange like that. It's not too bad, but what I'll do is I'll go back to my lighter tone. Let's go to lighter. Let's go to the, let's go back to the pale yellow. Oftentimes, what I use for my blending pen within a given color scheme is just a lighter version of the color being used in a given area. So instead of using my blender pen, I use my, in this case, yellow in here, or my blender pen in this area would be pink, okay, that I would utilize for that. And let's do this. We have these two here kind of similar. Let's see if we can go a little bit of a violet tinge in there, maybe? Like that. It's a little bit too dark, but that's where I'll use my my acrylic paint pens. Let's see, let's use a little bit of this right here in the shadows, this violet right here. That we'll do it right in here too. So it kind of strengthens the different rows a little bit more by putting in a little bit this shadow right down these edges, like right in here. You add a little bit more color in there, or just tone. All right, and let's see. I think we're just about done here with the coloring, I think. I used green down those center rows. Let's use a little bit of that. I used green with the colored pencils. Let's go in there with the alcohol pens and layer that a little bit more. Oh, as I'm working on this, I'm not even thinking about this building at all. Let's see. I hit this with a colored pencil in there, okay? I'm going to put a layer of a similar color with alcohol ink in here too, because I think it'll be a little bit of a richer tone. And see this like right in here on this blade here. And let's see, let's do that up here as well. Yeah, it looks a little bit richer, or a lot richer. It's kind of it's richer in a subtle way though. Is the best way I can describe it. And we'll hit this pink right up here too. It's just a little bit more vibrant. I wouldn't call it vibrant, but it's more vibrant than what it was without the the extra layer in there. Okay, I'll hit this with them in these blades here too. Because the photograph is really like rich in tone, so it's good to kind of go in and bring, in this case, a piece of semi-gloss cardstock and make it a little bit richer as well. Just so you're kind of bringing it up in intensity. Now, this area down here isn't suffering from lack of intensity with this other area, but these buildings can, potentially look a little anemic if you don't kind of add in some tones. It doesn't have to be like anything really super bright, but just as long as it's a little bit something. I'm going to put some light in these windows like that. It's a little bit of warmth too. Let's see. There's that yellow there. Curious. Let me see what this might look like too. I add a little dot of colored pencil in these that are probably represent tulips, but we'll see if I can brighten it up a little bit with some additional little dot in there as well. So these flowers look like they're a little bit more shimmery when there's like variation in here. That's a little bit heavy right there. I'll kind of blend that out a little bit. Go like that. And let's see. Too pinkish up there in those blades, huh? Let's see if I have a gray here. We'll go for some grays. It's not a gray, but it's a little bit of this bluish tinge. Bluish gray, I don't know, violet. That looks okay. And Here's another one. That's a little bit, ooh, that one's quite a bit darker. I'll need to be a little bit careful about my application of this. I'm trying to follow that kind of that darkness right back in those clouds. Like that. Yeah, it looks a little bit better up in those blades. And then let me just kind of knock it down in intensity a little bit with this black colored pencil. I think I'll have a little bit more control with this. That. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's try out some additional tones in those flowers. And if it looks a little bit too hot, then we'll try to knock it back a little bit with... Here's the one thing about this. I didn't leave, like, any white. So I'm not sure if I can do my usual thing with white pigment ink in here to kind of mellow everything out. If it looks a little bit too intense, but we'll see. All right, here we go. Some yellow right down in here. So I'm just trying to highlight some of these yellow flowers and areas where, you know, maybe I put too much red or something like that. I can put a dot over it with yellow, and then it pushes back that whatever the intensity or application of a certain color within those areas, and it just kind of, it doesn't eradicate it because this paint is kind of thin in many ways, and you can kind of see the colors underneath show through it, especially when this dries. It looks more see-through than how it looks when it's been freshly applied. And see these rows back in here kind of get a little bit obscured. You can kind of bring them out a little bit more with some additional highlighting like this. It kind of stands out a little bit, but again, when it dries, it'll be darker looking because I'm kind of putting them over a little bit of a darker application in there. Okay, let's try pink here. That's one thing I find in the acrylic paint pens, the pinks are kind of lacking. I wish there was like an intense pink like this in acrylic paint form, but I don't know. I have a few of these sets, and it just, I don't know. It seems like they just don't have it. I don't know if there's like it's like a chemistry thing or something like that, trying to get that intensity within that hue or what. I have like a magenta one too, but it's like super, super watery. It might look okay just on white, I'm not sure, but it's like super see-through anytime you're using it over anything that's darker than it. And it's not just one set. It seemed to be the case with a couple of my different sets and brands too. So, yeah, I know it's kind of weird. Or I think it's kind of weird. I don't know, I tend to think that there is, you know, possibly something to those types of hues or the dyes that they use, the pigments. It's always fun to do this flower field. I like it all kind of in the same color scheme too, but on this one I thought, I haven't done stamped this one out in a little, I don't know, a little while. So okay, now in that window, I kind of made the windows a little bit warm, like a tone. It was like too much, so I'm just putting a little bit of white over the top of it, and it mellows out that those applications. We'll put some of this in the trees too. Background trees, and I'll Add in a little bit of highlighting in here. This one's the 0.7 millimeters, so pretty pretty small, relatively speaking. And adding it in here, I guess it's giving us that contrast. But again, this 0.7, though, you can see all those little white dots in here. Like in 5 minutes, I don't know if we're going to be able to see them. They'll become a lot more see-through. But, I mean, not completely. They're not transparent, but it won't look as an extreme of a, or wide of a contrast as it does right here. Sometimes it's okay because it kind of merges with the background a little bit more and doesn't look as harsh. But in an instance like this, I just wish it would just stay as light as it looks when freshly applied. Because it just, it seems to look just fine and harmonize with the background. But sometimes, when you're putting like little highlights on something, if it's a dark scene or something like that, that white dot can really stand out too much at times. But I know that it's going to dry and get much lighter, so. But on something like this, it's like, if it kind of darkens up, it's like, okay, I can add more highlights right over the top of it, and you kind of build up some of it. But, a lot of, like that, in those instances, I just assume it be done. I just assume not have to do it, keep doing the same thing. It does help, though, in terms of control, because it only gets so light, with each given layer. But see, this little, it kind of makes it shimmer a little bit more, doesn't it? Hello, Sharita. There's some of your favorites? Good, good. Are you talking about the flower field in general? I think that, the little, these little photo mergers, I think they look, they're looking pretty good so far. I've always liked photo stamping. But I don't know. I guess I just realized that after all these years that I do have like scissors, and you can cut out images, or I don't know. Maybe that's not images. Maybe it's like half scenes or something like that, and just combine them with the photograph. But it's like, what is that saying about innovation? So the mother of necessity? I don't forget. How does it go? But I have a bunch of these photos now that I had printed out that you can't really stamp on very easily. So this will be a good way to kind of use them up, or another way to use them. But for me, it's also a way to get rid of them in a constructive manner, I'm not going to use them just because I need to get rid of them. The whatever, the process has to look good. All right, I think I'm running low on this white ink and paint in here. But anyways, that's kind of coming along pretty nicely. This area down here is starting to kind of optically, I think, merge with that top area up there. Hello, Mary, how are you? Doing a little experiment here with the photo merging. Someone needs to come up with a better whatever description for this type of process, title or whatever, name. So photograph up top. I don't know, gluing your additional scene right on top. All right, so doing that type of thing too, it's like, I do like doing skies. It's one of my favorite things to stamp out. But you know, sometimes like this, the sky's all kind of taken care of. It gives me a little bit more time. I can spend time on these flowers down here, and you know, uh, have a lot of fun with that. If I'm doing the sky too, I'd have fun with the sky and that lower portion. But sometimes it was like if I just feel like focusing on like something specific, you can spend more time with something and just having that top section already kind of complete. All right, let's see in here. All right, I'm just kind of blending that top area in a little bit more. I don't know, maybe it looked better if it was lighter. But that being said, okay, I was going to put some of these right down here, kind of just kind of frame things off, maybe even just on one side, I'm not sure. Okay, but before I do that, let me see if I can bring in a little bit of a textural, extension to the scene with some white pigment ink, as I usually do. I don't know where to put it in here, to tell you the truth. Maybe kind of like distant in here, or possibly like right in here, like that. I'll see if I can get some of that. That white pigment ink is not going to stick to this type of surface in here. So even if it does apply, I'd have to spray seal it to kind of lock it down. All right, let's see what we can do here, if we can. Okay, so just white pigment ink and a cotton ball. Don't apply a lot of it, kind of have it almost like dry on here. And then just use light pressure. Okay, I'm kind of wiping it off that photo print up there, but see that little foggy kind of haze coming over those trees? Like that. Yeah, it looks okay, like that. It looks like they're kind of glowing a little bit more. And I'm not gonna put this in a real wide area on this thing, because like I said, there's not like this big area of lightness or something like that. Like on this one right here, there's a lot of this white light down here and like down in here in these waves. Okay, so I can apply a little bit more of it in those areas. But like right in here, let me try to put a little bit of a haze like at the base of these trees or something, so it looks like there's, a little bit of fog in the fields, or the beginning of it, maybe just right at twilight or something. See how kind of slowly I'm kind of building that up right there? It's like a few taps is nothing is showing, okay? So only through repeated types of marks like that. You see it's kind of just slowly starting to come in. See, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this, kind of textural change in there, but it's happening like really, really slow. In this case, this is about the rate at which I want it to apply, because I want to see what's kind of happening, like really incrementally. It's like whatever, 1/10 of a percentage of that little white pigment ink, showing with each little tap here. So you can tap like 20 times and it's like barely visible, but that gives you a lot of control over the rate of which it applies, so that you can see how much you want to apply it in there. Okay, so that's like out there in the distance like that. You got to apply a little bit more than what looks kind of natural. Here, that was a little bit too much. Wipe some of it off like that. But that pigment ink also, when it dries, it gets more see-through. so it's not going to be as visible. See, like down here, I guess you can see a little of those white acrylic paint pen dots. Not as much, though. They've kind of merged in with the background a little bit more. So if I want to get some more of it in there, I'll have to kind of reapply it. Or one of the things I might not be able to do is spray seal this and then put those acrylic dots over the top of it so it's not absorbing into the paper at all. Sometimes I forget to do that, or I forget to even try doing that. So spray sealing would be like with an acrylic, you know, spray, like a Krylon. All right, so adding this, it's kind of at the end of the row right here. Just, see, it has that soft, it's matching these kind of soft patterns up in the sky a little bit, having that in there. So this is all like really sharp and crisp. So it's just kind of nice from a textural standpoint. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I think, and if you gave this to someone, that doesn't, whatever, use pigment ink, if they're, not a stamper or something, I don't know if they're gonna really think about it, but I think just from a, I don't know, kind of a subconscious kind of a feel, they'll see this and they'll be just kind of like there's a little bit more visual harmony. Let me try this right here. I'm gonna mask off this row of flowers right here, and we'll put a little bit of this just textural change right behind it like that, maybe that's a little bit too much right there. I'm wiping it with the clean side of my thing, but see that like that? I think it looks pretty cool. So see this row right here too, this line, it's all the same kind of kind of color, value, same dark, light and dark, and texture. So let's do this. So this right here, see, I've done these two areas of this little mist right here, and they're in the front, right? I mean, you could put it right there, but let's do this. Let's put it kind of like in the middle here, just as a little bit of a variation. So see that right there? Even it kind of breaks up that line a little bit. It still goes down there, so you're not losing that continuity between that, front and back, but it just kind of changes it a little bit more. And see this one right here too. So I think I like it in terms of textures too, but sometimes or a lot of times my coloring and application, I don't know, it can look heavy-handed at times or something like that. This is where this all kind of remedies all that. It's like my my weakness kind of remedy tool. Okay, let me put a little bit of this on that. Whatever the mill, I don't know, whatever barn or something like that right up there. So see that little thing like that? It's kind of little fun little things that you can do. There's a row here. I don't know. Let me add a little bit of this right in here, like that. Yeah, something like that. See, this gets a little muddy in here, so I'm just going to put that like right along one of those lines like that, and then you put, oops, it's like way too much. So you just wipe it all off like that. And then yeah, see that little haze like that? That looks better than that kind of muddy kind of like little area right in there of before. I'm starting to like this more. It's looking like it's I think it's adding to the atmosphere. See like that? A little bit on that, right? It just, I don't know. To me, it also looks, it just looks like I keep wanting to say the lighthouse, the windmill kind of. It just seems to merge with that, harmonize with that background photograph that's like so much different. With that extra texturing in there. Because most of the things we do, I always say this, but most of the things that we do in stamping are fairly crisp impressions, coloring, in really specific areas, but then adding that little bit of softness and diffusion like that, I think can really enhance really any type of scene. I said it doesn't even have to be scenes sometimes. Like if I was stamping like a quote stamp on top of like a piece of white paper, um, sometimes you can take and you can use a little white pigment ink on the tops of the letter forms or something like that. So it looks like your letters or word stamp is being illuminated from the top. And then you have a textural change too, because it's like soft light or something like that is hitting it. Okay, so Linda, I just mentioned that it's not fussy cutting, but then you think it's fussy, huh? I explained that whole thing in something with the wave stamp. I don't know. I totally get it though, because I was like, I don't want to cut this out, but that's basically like cutting out a line, and that takes like 5 seconds to do. And this down in here, you had to kind of get around all these little areas in there, but I don't know. I don't think it's even like 60 seconds. If I had to cut around a tree, I would consider that fussy. But I get it though. It's like any type of cutting. I thought, I don't know if I want to do that. That's why haven't done it in the past. But then I was like, okay, in reality, you know, I don't know. It really wouldn't be fussy. Here, I need to change that tone up there a little bit. I would say anything that, for me, I don't know, I should probably define it. Anything that would take me over like 5 minutes in trimming, I don't know, maybe that would be a little bit fussy, but anything underneath that. So here, like down here, I cut out all this right here. It's just basically like lines. And so this whole thing right here, the one thing on this one though, I just took a X-Acto blade and I just trimmed right in between that windmill blade and that one right there. So I don't know. I don't consider that fussy though. I did yesterday though. So we need to really define that. Like I said, I spent more time on this row right here with that colored pencil, alcohol inks, and paint pens. Every one of these rows right here, I took more time to do than the stamping out right here, and then the trimming of that. That right in there, I don't know, that didn't take 10 minutes. It was probably, I don't know, 6, 7 minutes at most, I think. Like I said, I'm not going to trim out like some kind of like pine tree or something like that, or like a bare branch that's like really thin. Forget it. Now that one, if I had something like that, I would really try to get an impression with stays on ink directly on this type of paper like that if I was to do that. But this one right here on these photo prints that I got, that thing right there on this photo print, from a professional printing thing, it's not going to print out like right in here. I'd get these fisheye type of things where it's just not, that ink just isn't transferring on there. And then when I lift it off, it's like lifting off some of the ink and it's coming off with it. But I think that's where if you did it on a home inkjet printer, or if you're able to get those good prints, like Linda was able to get some prints that she's able to stamp on with dye-based inks. That's what I want. But apparently that doesn't exist anymore domestically for me in the I don't know. It just, they're using some of their type of technology, and I can't imagine there's too many companies providing that unless they're using the older equipment maybe and the same types of inks. But the inks that I'm getting from sending out for prints these days, as I was mentioning earlier in this video, they're like waterproof. as opposed to dies on there. So I don't know. uh, so I'm looking into like a home inkjet printer, and I don't know. I just want to print out my own prints, and I can also do them in different sizes too. Like if you had a 5x7 print from and you send out for it, it's kind of expensive. The 4x6s are yeah, 4x6s and 3.5. I don't even know if they have 3.5x5s anymore. But the 4x6s though, they were all like really inexpensive. And then when you go like a different size, 5x7 or something like that, it seemed like it went up exponentially on the prices that I was looking at. I don't know. I don't know if it was like 4 times the price or something like that. Because it's not like a standard size. You know, they have to go in there and they have to designate like one print out of like, 100 that they're doing or something like that. They probably get, requests for 8x10s and stuff like that too. But, I would imagine 95% of the prints that they're doing in those types of print houses or departments are 4x6, just a standard size. So, but anyways, yeah, I can do different sizes. It'd be kind of cool to have whatever different sizes of all of these things. Pieces right here. This almost looks like a square. I don't even know what the dimensions of this is, but as I was mentioning, the photo print right here is it's not this exact print, but I'll show you where this one went to. So see, this is like where it is right here. Okay. So it's like that size right there. So this whole thing, this was glued down first on top of this cardstock like that. And then I took this and glued this right on top. And then of course I'm kind of hanging off one side or another. So what I did was I trimmed all 4 corners before I'm doing this right here. You can do it after too. Sometimes it's better if you color and everything like that, and then do your trimming afterwards, But I just did it ahead of time, so it's like flush. So this whole piece right here will get mounted on something, and I'll finish the card. Again, this is like a perfect place for a little quote stamp or something like that too. Up here, I don't know if or word stamp, I'm not sure. Anyway, that was that was my thoughts exactly too, Linda. Yeah, I know that's going to bother your hands, but keep it nice and ergonomic, like I was mentioning in my video from yesterday. It's like all the work should be, and when you're trimming these things, is in your offhand. So, just keep that one hand doing the trimming steady, and move the other side like that. But yeah, and it might be even easier. What kind of might be interesting. I hadn't thought about this, but we have like if people have like white vinyl printable sticker paper. So we've been using things like holographic printable vinyl sticker papers, printable glow in the dark papers, but they have those white printable vinyl sticker papers out there. You can print these things just with your regular dye-based inks on that white printable vinyl, cut it out, and that whole thing becomes a sticker, and you can just stick it on something like that. And then that printable vinyl, of course, accepts things like, dye-based inks as well. Now, I couldn't color like this because I was using colored pencils, so the vinyl wouldn't take colored pencils. But I don't know, it seems like it'd be an interesting other option here for these types of things. And there's all kinds of things too, so, I'm not do it on here, but you can do things like that. Okay, so this is like semi-gloss cardstock down here. Photograph up here, and I just put that quote over it, but we can start combining, you can combine like glow in the dark vinyls up here, like in sticker. Not in this one. I'm just saying for an example. You do something like that and combine like the different types of things, photo paper, vinyl sticker paper, things like that, and stick it up there. I want to do this one too. After I did this one, I thought I'm going to stamp this water area on the glow in the dark vinyl sticker paper, maybe this whole area right here. And then that's going to glow. And I'm going to put that vinyl sticker paper area like this against a photograph up there. I don't know, maybe put the glow in the dark moon up there too or something like that. But I think that would be an interesting photo merge. Like a super easy photo merge would just be the yeah, I don't know where it is. Not okay, not this, but I don't know, like the Seaside Cove or something like that. If you just put the Seaside Cove, that's like a super easy cut out. Oh, here we go. I guess this is already like that though, I guess. But I just did this. I didn't really think about this like a photo merge because this is already two different areas right here. I guess this is already photo merging. Like if this was a flat card like this as opposed to a horizon card like that. This is on the printable vinyl, glow in the dark sticker paper. So I don't know. I guess I'm already done that. So the only thing is I don't have anything from down here going up into this and going over it. It's just that moon right here. But it would just be like this would be like the same type of thing. I would just have that wave up here. Oh, this one might be kind of interesting to put that wave up here coming in over that with this merged with the Seaside Cove like that. See that right there? Yeah, I want to fold this over backward, but see, like this bottom portion would be like that, and to be like that wave, kind of like that in this scenario. But this, see, I wanted to go for that bioluminescent type of look in there. So I don't know. There's too many things to experiment with. So these things are just going up into the sky. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, just, using that photo, things like that. We have been, but like I said, we're just not cutting out things and then putting it into this area and just like gluing it over it. But yeah, we've used it in conjunction with it. So, yeah. Anyway. All right, so, just another little experiment here with the photos and utilization of different types of backgrounds. And another thing that you can do is if you have like Deanna's Tubsadio's background papers, you can do that type of thing with it. You can just like have like something flat down here. Now see, if it was this one, I'm using one of Deanna's papers like this, one of her really cool papers. It almost looks like this type of background right here. But all you do, this one becomes much easier. You just stamp out this portion right here on whatever type of paper you want. This is kind of a matte card, so it's almost like semi-gloss now that with all the printer inks on there. But you just stamp this out on a white piece of paper, and then you have this up here, but you stamp this on here because this paper will accept, like a VersaFine Clair or something like that. That would be a really good one to use on here. And then you stamp that on here, and then you don't have to cut that out because this one accepts the printing of it. So that would be another really great thing to use in these types of things like that. And then, you can stamp other things up here. Like I wanted like some little like birds up here in the sky, but I don't know if this paper here, this printed background, is going to accept those inks enough. So I'm not sure about that. Let's see. I can send you some. No, you don't need to send me those, Linda. if anything, I'm just gonna get um, let us not in the same country, so that any type of thing like that. Now, don't do them though. That that's costly, international shipment like that. But nah, it's like one of those things. If I can't get it, to I don't want to use too much of that. Although I am using some of these things that can't be printed on though. So, but I'll just get it like a inkjet printer at some point in time. I have a gazillion packs of glossy photo paper from like 20 years ago or whatever, 20, 25 years ago that had been sitting around. It's when digital photography became the thing. And everyone was printing out tons of photos, and buying those printers all the time. How are you, Aaron? Good to see you. Wizard of Oz vibe. Cool. Yeah. I was just looking at something with Wizard of Oz. I think it was like some kind of behind the scenes or one of those videos, like 10 things you didn't know about the Wizard of Oz videos or something like that. Was that it? I don't know. I've seen like that in the past. I think it was some Julie Garland photos too. I was looking at. It's like those historical photo YouTube channels, where they just go through it. And talk about, here's Judy Garland, with a, whatever in concert. I think it was. Yeah, the glow in the dark. Yeah, the glow in the dark wave, Linda. That should be in pretty. Well, I don't know about easy one, but adding in that tone underneath the wave. It might be kind of interesting looking though. When I need to get some more of the printable glow in the dark sticker paper though. So this is that sticker paper for the glow in the darks. If anyone's, and that sticker paper, it was remarkably, I don't know, malleable to add in and blend different tones on. It's just like this. I've been using this so much. I think it's kind of a novelty type of thing, sticker paper. I don't know how many sheets it came with, 5 or something, or 10. I'm down to 1 sheet here. And it's like I love glow-in-the-dark elements in my scenes now. So, I don't know. I think it's here to stay in terms of whatever the repertoire goes. So anyways, so here's some like different photo ideas here for the pieces and the utilization of just inherent printed backgrounds like that, Like I said, that's why I love Deanna's papers too, is because you get that photographic kind of cool existing background look, but you can stamp on them too, so I can't wait to use those. But these are kind of getting me back in the swing of, starting off with like some kind of existing background before I get to her papers. So I have a one of each. So it's like they're really precious. I can buy some too, but yeah, but it's kind of fun to kind of think about different ways to utilize those things like that in scenes. Yeah. All right, let's see. I was going to ask if you ever use die cuts like Zizix. I don't use those, Aaron, but my wife does. Or I don't. She uses not die cuts, but she's cutting things. She's cutting things on the like the Cricut all the time. That's not a die cut though, right? But no, I haven't. I haven't done die cuts before. I like the looks of them though when people use them. Especially like my favorite die cuts, I think, are things like when people do like a window or something like that. I'm talking about just in conjunction with scenes, they'll do a die cut of a window, it might have those, whatever you call them, those different lights, where they, separate it or something like that. And it's a die cut. And then they put it, like that, and then it's like you're looking out the window into this scene or something like that. Like this would be cool with a die cut, if you had a die cut large enough like that, and it looked like you were looking out a window into this scene. That would be kind of fascinating. or something like that. But I really like those different types of looks. Or like some people do like these die cuts, like it's like a fence post, and like there's a couple like cowboys sitting on there, and then they use those cuts in front of like some sort of like farm type of background setting or something like that. I really love those silhouettes of animals too, deer, things like that. Over scenes, where it really kind of separates those objects, which become really the visual focal points and the backgrounds in there. I really think those are cool. Yeah, I don't know. I really haven't seen people use die cuts with photographs too, which would be really good. Really, potentially a really quick format scene card. Using silhouettes. But yeah. Um, Better than the roll. Oh, these sheets are the roll is. Oh, the roll is crinkled. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that before, Linda. Like stamping on them like that. I can see where that would be a potential issue with maybe especially with like larger stamps. But you got that roll of the glow in the dark vinyl, right? That one wasn't the printable one. I'm guessing the roll was, those rolls that they use for uh do they use it's with the Cricut, right? Or something like that. All those different vinyl rolls, the non-printable. I think the printable types are always going to be flat though, and configured for a letter size 8.5 by 11 because they're going through printers as the main kind of whatever method to use them, right? I'm not sure. I have to peel it off the roll and put it on paper. Oh my gosh, you do, huh? Just bought the sheet, huh? Die cut solid animals and stamps. Yeah, yeah. So Tracy, I don't know. We see those kind of occasionally, like on the Facebook group, right, Linda? Uh, I forgot who was doing those. A couple different people, right? Um, have done those die cuts like that. I'm trying to think of some other scenarios that they've done. I don't think I've seen too many like die cut trees, like pine trees, put on some sort of stamp background, which would be kind of cool too. Uh, but yeah, one of the things I wanted to do, I just never got around to it, but I needed to find out the potential of those scan and cuts because I have like these things like my fence set, and now I'm doing some cutting. Maybe it wouldn't be such a hassle to cut those out, but I still don't really feel like doing it. But I have these fences that are kind of like curving fences, and I often thought that if I stamp those out separately and cut them out, maybe it'd be on a like pop. I don't know if I'd use pop-up dots. They would be kind of. I wouldn't want them sticking out too much, but I think I can get like a really good dimensional look with the fences if they were cut out and placed into scenes. I think it would look really kind of like three-dimensional that way, which we're always trying to do, but it's always on a flat surface just stamped on there. But I think having them cut out, but I was wondering if those scan and cuts could give a really close cut on those fences. I think if I did it, I think I would just like I would cut out like, 10 pairs of them at the same time. Or I want to, do the scan and cuts cut vinyl too? You know? Like this would be easier on if it did work on a scan and cut. I got a lot of like cutting here to do. I have a lot of whatever, but and it's like so I'm just like I go through these enough to where doing them in mass I think is going to be a good idea just to save myself some time in the long run. They cut vinyl too. Okay. I need to take a. I need to ask about those scan and cuts. My wife, she has the scan and cut, but she hasn't been using it because she uses more of the Cricut. But I don't know. I'll have to see if I can borrow that scan and cut and figure it out. I don't think she ever really used it a ton, but if it cuts vinyl, that's like my like killer application for that. Um, is cutting out all these things on the vinyl. Huh. That might be kind of interesting. Even those fences or something like that. If I printed them out on the vinyl, I'm just thinking out loud here. Um, the vinyl's like thicker too than just like regular paper, and it has a little bit of a different consistency. So, if I had those fences on vinyl or even on vinyl, yeah, printable sticker paper, I can just use those as stickers to put into some scenes in certain types of looks, and it might come out with like a really cool three-dimensional lead-in type of thing. The type of thing that I would think about doing if I was doing the fences leading into a scene and embossing them. That was my thoughts on embossing. I haven't really done too much embossing in my life in general, but I've thought that just having something a little bit more dimensional, just to increase the illusion of depth, would be good. So I don't know. Do we really now? Do I want to start getting into that type of thing? That's like a whole other potential big can of worms. It'd be like really cool worms, though. Potentially. All right, I forgot to add this in here. I was going to add it in. I'm just adding it in with some stays on here because there's so much colored pencil, alcohol, and acrylic paint on here. So stays on is the way to go. So all this talk about the additional depth, I forgot to kind of frame this off a little bit with those, something grasses or something like that. All right, that's a little bit more depth right here. So, all right, playing around with some additional ways potentially to use these photo prints here. The photo prints are, I had a little piece of glitter stuck to that. This wouldn't be bad with a little bit of glitter in here, in those colors right there. But the photos, I always mention this, but the photos are in the Facebook group in an album. It's a bunch of my photos too. Or are my photos different? I think my photos are in a different album, Linda. I'm not sure. But a lot of people in the Facebook group have added photos, more sky photos typically, in the there's an album on the Facebook. I forget. Sometimes I forget where to look for that, but you click on this one link. I don't know. Drop us a note if you want to know where that is, or you can go to my Flickr page, and I have a bunch of these photos. You can download the whole album if you click on my album called Cloud Photos for Photo Stamping or something like that, and you can download the whole album, or you can just click on individual photos, and then there's this little arrow facing down. I think if you go over the photograph, you bring it up in full size. You don't go over the little thumbnail in the album or folder, whatever they call it, and then it'll ask you, well, what resolution do you want it to be downloaded in? And you choose original size. If you're going to be printing it out, you want it to print out as in full resolution as much as possible. All right. It cost a good bit to have a die made. Yeah, dies are pretty expensive. Dies are really expensive. The what do you call those? Stencils aren't quite as much, but I don't know. That we're talking about two different things there. Yeah, the die things. I don't know. Are people still doing some die things out there these days? Remember those things that used to go to like a stamp store, and they had those I went with those die cutting machines, where a store was invested in a bunch of different dies, and they had that gigantic press there for those dies, and people would you pay a little bit of money or something like that, and you can choose from their library of dies. I remember every stamp store that I used to go to, it if it wasn't every store, it was 90% of them. It seemed like they had one of those things and a collection of those dies, um, for their customers. They were selling them, usage of the dies or something like that. But yeah, that I don't know, it makes me think back to those days like that. Kevin's Clouds. There we go. Yeah, but then there was that other one. It was just like cloud. That was the challenge, right? Was that challenge last month or is it this month? It was photo stamping, right? I can't remember. Steel rule dies. Okay. I have quite a few layering die sets. I, I think I know what that is in concept. It's like different ones, and you print or you cut out like a different thing, and then you compile them together, right? Like that. Mark Five. Okay, yeah. The Mark Four. Is that what I don't remember the name of Ellison, but I remember that Mark Four seems to ring a bell there for me. Hmm. Yeah, I remember. I remember a lot of the people had a lot of those dies. Now that I'm thinking about it too, this bring back like memories here that were in deep storage or something like that. But I think someone at the elementary school when I was volunteering there, I think there was one of those machines um, in the school. I don't know if someone donated it or something like that, or the school bought it. But I seem to recall that in the there was like a copy room there, like paper trimmers and stuff like that. But I seem to recall that die machine in that elementary school kind of volunteer area, or I don't know, it wasn't just a volunteer area, but yeah. The windmill in that weather is looking like Northern California at the moment here in Napa. Oh, that's cool. You know where this photograph is taken right here? Willie Nick, is I don't know if you've ever been to Mono Lake in the Eastern Sierras, but I think I took that photograph there. Um, so not quite Northern California, but you know, east of would that be southeast, slightly southeast of like Bay Area type of thing. So California look though. Yeah, and it would be, I don't know, you might have that look right around right now, huh? 7 yeah, it's 7-Eleven right now here, Pacific Standard Time. Allison is the Zizix company. Okay, and they make Big Shot machine. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay, so there's different marks then. Mark 5. I don't know, I seem to remember Mark something. I don't know these types of things. I don't think I ever asked about it. But yeah, I just remember seeing those types of things. I wonder how much, anyone remember how much those dies just cost? You know, I don't know if anyone knew how much like, I don't think anyone had like one of those machines at home. It was always at those stores, right? Like that. Oh, now, okay, I forgot about that other type of, uh, those those machines, those home machines too. Is someone mention is someone talking about those ones? I remember going to like Michael's and seeing all those dies, right? For just like private use. I was okay when you mentioned that. I was thinking about the ones like those gigantic ones that were like mounted on like pieces of wood. So maybe that was what was it? Someone mentioning steel rule. That's what you're. That's what maybe I'm thinking about those steel rule ones, Bonnie, like that. I don't know. I'm all confused. Someone needs to do like the history of the die machine here. It wouldn't be me though. Obviously. All right. Steel run a ton of the thin let dies. Okay, the schools around. Okay, was that the? Is that that's what we're talking about? Steel rule. It's where they have it's an actual steel kind of form for those dies. Okay, yeah, huh. Now I'm gonna have to go and check out that those different types of machines on YouTube here. It's such a great resource. Okay. Photo stamping. I don't know, this is not quite photo stamping because I'm not stamping on the photograph, but I don't know. I guess it's stamping utilizing a photograph for some purpose, but yeah. The blades are set in wood. Okay, that's steel rule then. I got it. I never knew the term for that. It makes sense though. So those are the things that so not to get like totally off subject here, but this like brings back memories. But that's what in other live streams here we're talking about like PSX, I think, and PSX, as far as I know, was the only or one of the only companies doing those steel, custom made steel, um, uh, cut. I don't know, whatever you call them, rubber cutters or something like that. That's why those PSX stamps are like precision trimmed around all of their stamps. Most other companies, it was all hand trimmed on scroll saws. Like people cutting out these things like that because those dies were like so expensive to make for all those different rubber stamps there. So they're the only ones doing it. The only ones that will probably ever do it in the future, unless there was ones. I'm not talking about those ones that are like foam cut ones that are just like stamped. It's like an alphabet set and they're all kind of uniform, whatever, half-inch by half-inch or something like that in foam. It's the specific design types of ones. I wonder who has all those that equipment for those, because you would need like some kind of probably hydraulic press to cut all those out too. Crazy. Such an expensive thing. It must have cost $5,000 at least to put like one design into production back then for them. All right. Bonnie, you have 4 die cutting machines. Laura, you have 3, huh? Okay. I need to take a look at those. I've forgotten what. Yeah, are you guys using those? Or like all of them? Or did one kind of replace the other? Huh. I'll have to ask my wife about that and see if she has like a die cutting machine. I don't even know what she has. Sometimes, we'll talk about it. It's like, hey, you got a way to cut this out or something like that, or some of this different media. Oh, you have the Big Shot. Is that? I need to take a look at that. I'll take a look at that online and see what that looks like. It sounds like that big. I don't know. When I see that Big Shot, is that steel rule type one? From was that back from the store or something like that? Let's see. I use the electronic one most. the mini one next, and then the big shot occasionally. One is for fabric. The others are for paper. Oh, okay. Yeah. So all these different types of machines these days, for specific types of purposes. And it seems like one will come out and then it's like doing both. Like I think my wife has like two Crickets purchased not too far apart from each other. I thought one was for something, or one could do. I don't know, I hear all these different terminologies, but one was like for sublimation or something like that, or one couldn't. I can't remember what the purpose was for the different ones like that. The big Z dies are steel roll and can cut thick materials. Okay, got it, got it. Huh. When I'm done with this, or sometime maybe tonight, I'm going to go on to YouTube here and what you do is you type in die cut machines, what's the difference or something like that. It'll come up with someone's like showing their whatever 5 die cut machines and the differences between all of them. That's what I used to do for like things like black ink, or something like that. Someone will have like 8 different black ink pads or something like that, and they'll be talking about kind of they'll be printing them out and showing the different prints of all of them, but also kind of what they're for. I've watched those ones before. I kind of know that type of thing, but I didn't know like different brands, like the differences between certain brands, the same type of ink. So those are always kind of useful. You can cut a Coke can with a big shot. Oh, it's Coke. It's Coke can. It's Coke can scenic stamping, Bonnie. You need to come up with a method of that. An application for that. All right, folks. Hope you have a great rest of evening. Thanks again for checking out the flower fields at dusk. Does that look like dusk to you? I know it looks like dusk to me. I don't know if it looks like dawn to anyone, but if anyone sees dawn in that, then that's what that is. For me, it's more like dusk, though. All right. Good night, everyone.